Hi, it's your girl Curly Jamaican here with yet another video for you. And today I wanted to do a kind of comprehensive video about what I think are some easy questions when it comes to your understanding or our understanding of the Libertarian Party, and some hard questions that is just kind of difficult for people that are non-libertarian to swallow, or people that are new to the libertarianism to wrap their minds around. I'm one of those new people, and I've been rocking with the Libertarian Party mainly for two reasons, and those two reasons are, ending qualified immunity and ending the duopoly. Which, by the way, if you saw my thumbnail, don't feed the donkey fence, okay? Do not feed the donkey fence. And I thought that this was like a great response to anybody that will come to you and say, oh, if you're voting third party, you're wasting your vote. Just say, you know what? I'm just not gonna feed the donkey fence. By the way, I do have Don't Feed the Donkey Fence on Teespring as a tank top and a hoodie and all of that. I'm going to leave the link in the description section where you can click on it and view it. If you want to purchase it, please do. And also understand that, as I've said before, when you purchase these products, it doesn't go directly to Joe Jorgensen's campaign. So if you want your money going directly to Joe Jorgensen's campaign, please go to her website, donate to her. She needs the money, okay? She needs the money. Apparently, we are being outspent, and that's not good. So go to our website and donate. They also have merch on Facebook where you can buy hats and shirts, things like that. Please go there and get your products, and it will go directly to her. If you buy any of my products on Teespring, it will not be a direct donation, but I have donated to Joe Jorgensen, and I promise you I will be doing it again. So it will kind of feel like an indirect donation. So easy question. Should we end qualified immunity? I mean, to me, that is the easiest, most appealing question of them, of everything that the Libertarian Party is pushing. It is the easiest. And I will say it's the easiest because, with the spate of all the things that have been happening in terms of corruption and brutality in the police force, a good portion of us just want the police departments and police officers to be held more accountable when it comes to cases of police brutality. And in order to do that and inadvertently get the officers to behave or act accordingly, behave better, exercise with more care, ending qualified immunity would definitely lead to that. So that is a very easy question. I don't think many people will have an issue with this one because most of us want to make sure that if the cops are out here doing bad things, that they're being held accountable. And the cops themselves need to understand why it is important that they are policing themselves. It is important. We've lost way too many people, and we just need a reform. Now, this is not to say that all cops are bad. This is not to say that cops are not already being held accountable, but it's at a basic minimum. I'm sorry to say, but it's the truth, and this is a major concern for those in the African American community, because, as you know, African American communities tend to be in contact with the police officers at a higher rate. So ending qualified immunity to me is a no-brainer. That is a very easy question to answer. I think this is a hard question. Ending the war on drugs. I think it's a really hard question for a lot of people to wrap their minds around because we don't really know what that's going to look like. But I have been told that there are countries that actually have ended the war on drugs, and they are better off for it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up an article on that, just so you guys can at least have an idea of what it might look like. This article is from the Washington Post, and the country that have completely decriminalized drugs, from weed to heroin and all of that, is Portugal. And they have benefited immensely from decriminalizing drugs. They've done it since 2001. And as a result, let me just go ahead and read it verbatim to you guys. Okay, whenever we debate similar measures in the US, marijuana decriminalization, for instance, many drug policymakers predict dire consequences. If you make any attractive commodity available at lower cost, you will have more users. Former Office of National Drug Control Policy Deputy Director Thomas McLellan, once said of Portugal's policies, and they turned out to be really wrong. But in Portugal, the number paint a different story. The prevalence of past year and past month drug use among young adults has fallen since 2001. According to statistics compiled by the Transform Drug Policy Foundation, which advocates on behalf of ending the war on drugs, overall adult use is down slightly too. And new HIV cases among drug users are way down. Now, numbers just released from the European Monitoring Center for Drugs and Drug Addiction paint an even more vivid picture of life under decriminalization. Drug overdose deaths in Portugal are the second lowest in the European Union. So, the libertarian stance on this is going to be a similar outcome when we decriminalize drugs like heroin and things like that. Now, of course, we don't want to be enablers. We don't want to push people towards taking drugs, and we don't want children having access to drugs, right? So these are major concerns for people, and rightfully so. These are major concerns for people. But we have cases where it has been tried, and it has actually helped the country and reduced drug overdose and reduced deaths and addictions and even HIV cases. So why is it more effective to decriminalize drugs? Well, if you decriminalize it and allow people a safe haven where they can safely use a moderated amount of whatever they take, whatever their vice is, under medical supervision, then it becomes safer for them. Plus, accessing these types of drugs in safer dosages also helps. When people are arrested and they're forced to detox and stuff like that, by the time they come back out on the street, they're seeking the illegal stuff, and they're seeking it in high amounts. And this is what leads to the overdose. This doesn't really help them. We might think that we're helping them by forcing them to clean up when they're not ready, but by the time they go back out on the street, they're trying to get it, wherever they can, and they're getting it from whoever they can, and sometimes it's at the risk of their lives. So yes, this is a very controversial issue. It's a tough question, but it is, I will say, it is something that has been done, and I think that we've been fighting fighting drug use the way we've been doing for years, and you know what they say, you keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's insanity to expect different results. Well, let's try something different. And see if that works. Easy question. Should we bring the troops back home? Yes. Why do they need to be overseas unnecessarily? And so I think it's an easy question, because a lot of people have been advocating for the troops to come back home for a very long time now. As a matter of fact, Obama went into office and we actually thought that he brought the troops back home, but what did that really mean? Did he mean just pull them out of one particular country where we are aware that there's a war happening, or does he mean did he mean bring them back home completely? Nope, he just meant to pull them out of certain areas. And so Dr. Joe Jorgensen believes that this is going to not only help us to save money, but it's going to make us have our resources here where we need it, in case we need to protect our own land domestically. So she believes that we don't need our troops overseas. I've always, and a lot of people have been saying this, America meddles so much into other countries' affairs. They meddle so much into other countries' affairs. And a lot of people think that this is beneficial. I guess it keeps our foot on the necks of some countries, and I guess it gets rid of certain things like dictatorship and whatnot. But I mean, just imagine maybe China thinking that Trump is a dictator. China had the nerve to send deploy their military to our country to try to help us to overthrow our government. Imagine that. I mean, seriously, I want y'all to imagine how you would feel as a people. So it's just, for too long, America has been the world police, and Judge Jorgensen rightfully, and a lot of people, whether you're Republican or you're Democratic, just think it's time that we pulled it back. We pulled it back, and we just we secure ourselves here and make sure that if anything happens, if any dictator decides they want to try us, we're armed and we're ready. So I think that's an easy question to answer. Most people would agree that we just need to bring the troops back home and save money, save dollars that we can actually reroute to other needed departments, other needed programs, things like that. So I never really had an issue paying taxes until I came, until I started calling myself libertarian, and I realized that we were really paying a lot in taxes. We're paying income taxes, and we're just literally paying taxes for everything. Why this is difficult for me to wrap my mind around is I cannot see, or nor did I understand how it is that we're going to fund programs or fund the military and and things like that without paying taxes. How are we going to afford our children Medicaid? How are we going to allow people to be able to get assistance from the government and things like that? So I had a hard time wrapping my head around paying taxes. And the fact that the Libertarian Party stance is less taxes. If we can get it down to zero, that would be good, but as little taxes as possible. I just personally, to this day, I'm still a little skeptical if that is even possible. Now, I would love for her to reduce taxes, yes, but getting it down to a pretty low amount, I mean, that would mean that we're cutting and slashing programs left, right, and center. That would mean that welfare isn't going to be as readily accessible as it is now. Her solution to that is we can actually rely on privatized charities. We can rely on private organizations to assist with low income families. And actually, I've seen this. There are charity organizations like Red Cross and food pantries and things like that that do afford low income families assistance. It's not giving them an amount that they can abuse. These charity organizations are well organized, and they actually give out what is needed. and there's no, supposedly there is no excessive spending when it comes to helping low-income families. Now, with the welfare system as it is right now, I mean, we had a really major problem with it because, the government realized a few years ago that there was a abuse of the welfare system was rampant. A lot of people abused the system. A lot of people relied so heavily on the welfare system that they never intended to get off of it. They just intended to live off of the welfare system. And this is like our tax dollars just funding and feeding an ever-growing monster that we couldn't reel in. And so I can see why she's concerned about that. I can see why she wants to not only cut tax collection, but also hand over some of these welfare responsibilities to private organizations so that we can spread it out a bit, spread out the responsibility a bit, and so that we can have a more regulated system, I think. But let's be honest, even private organizations, even they take advantage too. There's a lot of organizations, nonprofit organizations that are corrupt, and they do whatever you donate to them, they take a percentage for themselves. But I guess with that, with a reliance on these nonprofit organizations, we can make more stringent laws to regulate them. That way we have less organizations taking advantage of donations, things like that. So really what we're going to be doing under the Libertarian Party is to shift responsibilities. Simply put, we're shifting responsibilities. Right now, we put a lot of the responsibility on government. Government should take care of low-income people. Government should take care of healthcare. Government should take care of minimum wage, things like that. The government. And as a result, government is an ever-growing entity that we eventually will take over our lives to the point where we become over-policed. We kill the economy. We kill the economy and slowly become very socialist and less capitalist, So, I mean, libertarianism, they just want to protect the capitalism in the United States, and I get that. Easy question. Addressing the $1 trillion debt and deficit that we have in the United States right now. I know everybody's concerned with that. I mean, that is something that I don't know how we're going to reverse that. I really don't even know how the Libertarian Party is going to reverse that, bring the country out of debt. But we are in debt, and we want to see a change where that is concerned. So I think that everybody collectively can jump on board with this. This is something that the Democratic Party has tried to tackle. The Republican Party has tried to tackle. Donald Trump has tried to tackle it, to slow the debt. But none of them have been really successful. So, what can the Libertarian Party do in order to reduce this debt or to slow the debt? For that, I will just give you a quote from Jo Jorgensen herself, Dr. Jo Jorgensen herself. So, what she has said is, as president, I will use my constitutional authority to block any new borrowing. I will veto any spending bill that would lead to a deficit and veto any debt ceiling increase. I will give every cabinet secretary a specific spending reduction target to meet and hold them accountable. I heard her speaking on this, and pretty much what she's saying is, instead of just giving them this unlimited supply of funding to do whatever they claim they need to do, they're going to have to pencil out a budget. With that budget, they're going to have to explain exactly what they will use the money for, and if they end up needing, and if they end up overspending or anything like that, you know, they should be held accountable for that. So, and, you know, this will foster competition, as in, you know, who can achieve the same thing with the lowest budget. So things like that, she plans on, she plans on introducing to the cabinet. There's simply no excuse for sticking our children and grandchildren with the bill of these bipartisan bloated budgets. You know, we definitely need to address that issue. We definitely need to. She does say again, we fund all of these expensive wars. That's a part of the reason we're also in debt. Um, and she also thinks that we can sell government assets. We can sell government assets that we are not using, that we don't need, to bolster the economy and cover a portion of these debts, or, you know, help to cover programs and things like that. So we are not borrowing and borrowing to fund certain important programs. So I am with her on that. I think that was an easy question. I think that's a lot. That's what a lot of people can get on board with. So, okay. So hard question: the issue of abortion. I just recently did a video, which is very difficult for me to do, on abortion. And let me tell you, the minute I did that video, I had someone come on there and say, "Yeah, just kill the babies. Why don't you?" Abortion is always a controversial topic. It is. So I think what George Jorgensen has done is, as government, she has decided to stay out of it. Now, she believes that she would delegate these the legislation of abortion. She would just leave that to the states. And that's kind of what makes America so awesome, because what might not be legal in one state, like drugs and, you know, marijuana dispensaries, things like that, abortions, you can travel to another state, a more, you know, liberal state. And just because it's liberal don't mean that it's democratic now. But I'm just saying, although it does kind of, but you know what I mean. But you can go to a more liberal state to get this done. For me, I live in a conservative state, and I love that. I love living in a conservative state, because I'm actually more conservative than I am liberal. So when they came out with the, I think it was the heartbeat law, where if you can detect a heartbeat, you can't perform an abortion. I wasn't up in arms. I was not, because I don't believe in abortion. And so, you know, her thing is, of course, if you don't agree with this, you can move to another state. But that's kind of, in all honesty, that's a little difficult, because that's like uprooting your life because of a law. You know, so it is that is, to me, that's why it's kind of a difficult question. It's a difficult topic to tackle. But she does believe in allowing, like, if you have more conservative people within that state, and, you know, since it's a democratic country and democratic state, and the majority is going to decide, hey, we don't want you killing babies here, right? If you're in a more liberal state, then they're going to say, hey, you have no right to tell me what to do with my unborn child and my body. So, you know, it's just there. That's just where it is. And I think a lot of Republicans that joined the Libertarian Party, this is like a major issue for them, because they are staunchly against abortions. You know, you're talking about Christians and people with just conservative views, and they're lobbying for that unborn child. That's who they believe also has rights. So I think that's difficult. But like I said, you know, if you live in a state where they uphold your values, then that sorts of make it easier. But how does that make you feel to know that it's going on in other states, you know, things like that. So that's one of the things that might just have a few people like, oh, I don't know, especially Republicans. So I get that, and that's why I put that on the difficult list. Now, This one is an easy question for me. I need to be looking into the camera more. I'm sorry. This one is an easy question for me because, you know, I'm an immigrant. I came here legally, and I took care of my papers legally, and you know, I'm here as a result. Should foreigners be able to vote? And Joe Jorgensen's stance on that is, if you're paying taxes here and you're working here, you should be able to vote. So, you know, I think that if you're a green card holder, you should be able to vote. I personally believe that. I think our lives are also, as immigrants, our lives are also impacted by the government, and we want to be able to have a say. You know, we want to be able to have a voice. Of course, a lot of people will say, if you want to vote, just become a citizen. You can vote. We don't care that you're an immigrant, just become a citizen. But, you know, anyway, I thought that was an easy question. I thought it should, people with green card holders should be able to vote. That's just what I thought about that. Maybe it's not such an easy question. I don't know. Hard question. Eliminating the Department of Education. Ooh, that one is hard. I cannot see us eliminating the Department of Education. I cannot. I can see us having the ability, or us being able to choose whether we want our schools to, whether we want to send our child to a private school or a charter school or government school. But I don't know, getting rid of the Department of Education. They standardize the learning material, they standardize testing, they standardize everything. And we've become so reliant on them for this that I don't see how we can survive without them. I think their responsibilities should be lessened, but I don't think they should be totally eliminated. So I have to say that I'm not totally on board with that one. I have to say I'm not totally on board with that. If I could afford it, my kids would be in private school. They would be in private school because we just know that private schools tend to be better. The quality of teachers tend to be better. The material that they teach tend to be better. And you have more of a voice when it comes to how your child is being educated with private schools. And I've always wanted, you know, I wish I could afford it, but I've always wanted to send my kids to private schools. So I did the next best thing, and I sent my kids to charter school, and that wasn't so bad. But eventually I moved to a different county, and, you know, now my kids are in public school. Well, public school makes it easier in terms of money, in terms of paying for education. They make it easier, you know, the busing to school, you know, school supplies, books. You still have to spend money on school supplies and things like that, but I've never had to pay direct out of pocket for textbooks and things like that. So that, yeah, especially for low income families, I can see why we need public schools, and I can see why the Department of Education is important to implementing the standard for public schools and charter schools and private schools to some extent, and homeschooling, you know. But Joe Jorgensen believes that we should take the responsibility out of the government's hands and put it into the hands of the parent, the teacher, and the school. What would that look like? You know, a major problem that a lot of parents are complaining about is core, the core material based learning. I think it's overrated. I think it's overrated. So I agree with Joe Jorgensen on that. You know, By the time I was in grade 3, I was multiplying and dividing and doing simple algebraic equations. My kids are still figuring out 100 different ways to subtract and to add. Now, they have touched on multiplication and stuff like that, but I had to kind of push it a bit by, buying multiplication books and division books and, things like that to say, hey, yeah, just practice this stuff here. And if you have any questions, ask me. But I completely understand that part of it, but I cannot get on board with completely eliminating the Department of Education. So that's kind of where our views are divergent. Difficult question. This is about immigration. Of course, immigration is going to be one of those tough, hard topics to tackle. But she does believe in legal immigration. But I'm not sure how she plans to curb illegal immigration. She doesn't believe in the wall. She actually would like to remove arbitrary quotas to those that can work, live, and visit America. So she's very loose or lax when it comes to immigration laws, right? And which is okay. That part of it I am on board with. I don't think loosening immigration laws is going to harm the country. The people that come here legally usually are people selected from a good caliber of people, educated, things like that. And when they come here, they are going to contribute to the economy. They are going to contribute to the building of the nation. So loosening some immigration laws isn't going to be detrimental to America. But what is she intending to do about illegal immigration? I know illegal immigrants want some answers to that, and so do people of America. So I'm not really sure how she intends on tackling that. She also believes that people that are in the United States illegally, but they're working, they should be given amnesty. I think that's a difficult topic as well. Like I said, all of this is on her website, so you can go there to get more information. I think if they're working and you want them to contribute to taxes, which she's trying to reduce taxation, so I'm not really sure how that's going to play in or how that's going to work together. But if you want them to contribute to the economy, granting them amnesty would definitely allow them to contribute to the economy, right? And it would make it a lot easier for employers. And of course, you will make it to where the employers cannot take advantage of these immigrants. Now, a lot of people say, what if you're here working illegally? Well, why should we care whether or not an employer is taking advantage of you? But you do want to care. You do want to care about things like that, because at the end of the day, think about it. If they're paying immigrants less, right, which is them taking advantage, if they're paying them less to do more, why would they hire you? Why in God's name would they hire you? So you kind of want to grant them amnesty so that employers can offer them the same pay grade to the point where now it's competitive with the illegal immigrants and yourself. So I kind of, and that's me just making it work. This is not Joe Jorgensen's opinion, guys, but I'm just saying it makes sense. One more thing about education. Should teachers be allowed to carry guns? Guys, I'm kind of scared of myself sometimes. I am, because I do have some radical ideas. I'm not a radical person, but I do have some radical ideas. Before I ever thought of myself as libertarian, I was like, yeah, I think teachers should be allowed to carry guns. I'm pro-gun. I think teachers should be allowed to carry guns because this, to me, would help when there are mass shootings. The teachers would be able to protect themselves and the students. Now, let's say that the mass shooter is a student, is a 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old. How will you as a teacher be able to shoot that kid? So, I think about this too. And so you're hoping that these teachers are trained. This is, to me, it deserves a spot on the list of difficult topics, because a lot of teachers themselves are like, they're nice people. Teachers are teachers. I mean, can you imagine a teacher carrying a gun? But there are a lot of teachers out there that are like, I will be damned if someone comes up in here and shoots me dead, and I don't have a gun. There are some teachers like that, but most teachers are really nice. They're not even pro guns, so this is kind of unlikely to happen, but I still think that they should have that option. I did put this on the list of difficult topics, but I don't think it's that difficult. Pretty much what Dr. Jorgensen believes is that we should privatize healthcare. This will create and foster a more competitive market to where health costs will go down immensely because there's competition. Of course, a lot of people are going to go to try and get good healthcare for a lower cost. And with that, a lot of private healthcare facilities and organizations are going to provide good healthcare service at a lower cost. So if you privatize it, then of course you have more competition. So I'm kind of on board with that. I was a little concerned about Medicaid, but I see that she hasn't spoken about removing it. I don't think she should. Medicaid helps out a lot of low-income families. And, children up to a certain age can be afforded healthcare no matter what the economic status of their parents are because of this. So I do believe in the Medicaid. I know a lot of people are like, we're trying to get rid of a lot of the welfare programs, but we should keep the Medicaid absolutely 100%. Finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about, and there are other, things that I would put on the list, but another thing I wanted to talk about is privatizing healthcare or assistance for veterans. If you've been with me from the get-go, you know that I have a very soft spot for veterans, for military personnel, and these people are very important to me, and I want to see them taken care of, whether or not they have an other than honorable discharge. I don't think that because the military has deemed you unfit for the military and has saddled you with an other than honorable discharge, now you can't go into the civilian world and get assistance for things like PTSD and things like that because of your discharge. I think that is beyond insane. Beyond insane. You have people out here that really need help, but because of whatever discharge they have, they can't get it. Well, Joe Jorgensen's approach to this issue would fix that. She does believe that there should be more privatization of veterans' health care. And with that, if there are stumbling blocks and if there are challenges to getting help through the VA, things like that, you can turn to private organizations and charity organizations for assistance. So actually, no, that was on the easy topic. Easy list of topics. I'm sorry. That wasn't on the hard list of topics. That was on the easy list of topics. I think that's a no-brainer. All right, guys. So that is it. That is all I have for you today. Tell me what you think. Did you agree with me about what I chose for easy topics and hard topics? And do you agree with some of her approach? Do you disagree with most of her approach? What do you think? Guys, I've hit 100 subscribers. I have decided that when I hit 150 subscribers, I'm going to start doing giveaways. Okay? And on my 150th subscriber, I'm going to give away one Joe Jorgensen tank top for my lovely lady supporters and one Joe Jorgensen shirt to my lovely male subscribers. Keep subscribing. Thank you guys so much. I love you all. Have a great day. Bye.
Yeah.